Have you ever said, okay, yes, God, yes, we're going to do this, right? And as soon as you say it, it's like God says, let me test out and see if you're serious about being committed, right? It's so mind-boggling, and it's like you say yes and like a flipped switch comes on. Now it gets interesting, right? And so me and my husband have decided that we were going to come together as the couple that we are and start to really hone in on all of our debt and really bang that out there and get it over with and whatever. And as soon as we do that, we're like, oh, great. Look, we do our bills. We can be saving about $700 a month, blah, blah, blah. And then here comes a ginormous bill that will wipe that out every month. I was like, of course, because we said we're committed, right? Have you ever noticed that? Like, as soon as you say yes, God, yes, we're going to do it, life kind of hits you in the head, right? And I recently was, I was at church and we were studying 2 Corinthians 4, 7 through 18 at church. And it got me thinking deeply about, things in our life and how fragile we actually really are. And I think some of you already know that I have been working on something with God called Purpose by Design, right? And it's a framework and it applies to real life, especially when things get super tough, and things do get tough, right? And in Corinthians, the Apostle Paul compared us to fragile clay jars. And that's exactly how I feel sometimes, right? I mean, we think we're superheroes and we have our cape on, and we're superheroes and we're going to get this done. But really, I'm just like, God, can you make me I don't know, Tupperware instead of a fragile clay jar? I do want God to mold me into who he wants me to be. And at the same time, I don't want to go through all of this stuff sometimes that we have to go through in life, although I know that it will be all worked out for my good. I just want to be, I don't know, a jar that doesn't chip. I know that's not going to happen. But here's the truth, right? These clay jars, our bodies, our lives are really fragile, but they're fragile and malleable and moldable for a reason. And the reason why, I think, is because our strength and our true treasure comes directly from God, and it's in our weakness, it's in our vulnerability, it's in all of that that I believe we allow his strength to shine the brightest in our lives. Because if we had it all together, and if we were able to do everything, and if we didn't need the love and support and connection that God gives us and the strength that he gives us, we wouldn't need God. And I know that in our own strength, we think we can do all things. But the truth is that the treasure and the love and the connection with God comes through our weakness, right? And this ties, I think, beautifully into what I was creating with God, which is called Purpose by Design. And it's a framework for women. And I wanted to do this because I know that there is an identity and a purpose for us, and a divine discovery that we have in this life. And that divine discovery, like Paul says, we might feel afflicted or confused or even persecuted. You ever said yes to God and then looked around and thought, wait, what just happened? Right? But you know what, guys? Your identity and your purpose should not be shaken by circumstances, because things are always going to happen to you in life. And I bet you that there are so many things in your life that if I dug into who you were and all the things in your life, you would see a pattern of you rising up amongst the circumstances and the ashes, because God doesn't allow these things to happen in our life unless he's going to utilize it for something. What? I don't even know. But it's fun to try to discover that. And God is using even our darkest and our most confusing moments to reveal who he truly is and who he has designed us to be. And many, many times we just walk around life just listening to the world and doing what the world wants us to do. And we are in a fog and in confusion and don't know what we want and who we are and what we're supposed to do in this world. Well, I want to challenge you on that. Right? When are you going to allow the brokenness of whatever it is that God is breaking off of you to create the better version of you? So, yes, sometimes when we say, yes, God, yes, then you look around and it looks like the world is falling apart. It is because you have been saying yes to you too much and not yes to God enough. And I believe that lots of times God needs to break those things down to build you back up. This is reminding me of many, many, many years ago when my husband and I first met. We were very greedy and frivolous. And I mean that. Like we had money, we had our boat, we had, buying a house, we were doing all of these things. And then we didn't have God though. We didn't have God. We just had things. And we valued our life based on the things that we had. And, we went through a season where God had stripped us from all the things like all of it. We lost everything, our home, our cars, we were homeless. It was not fun. But our relationship with God just deepened and our relationship with one another deepened. And I realized that I didn't even really need those things. And it just gives you perspective, doesn't it? Because he truly has designed us to be something that maybe we haven't imagined doing. And it reminds me of 2 Corinthians 4:7, that scripture that my pastor was reading a couple of weeks ago, is we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that all surpassing power is from God and not from us. It is from God and not from us. And too many times we think we're the powerful one. We are not. Do we have like some strength and power here on this planet to do certain things? I believe so, but I don't believe it is because of our own strength. I believe it's because of the strength and power of God. I was watching something today with Will Smith, and he was talking about how he has reached the top of what he thought was the top. And he's like, now what? So he went after the money, went after the fame, went after all of those things, and then realized that now what? He's standing at the edge of a cliff now. That's super interesting, isn't it? And that's because when we can do things in our own strength. Of course, go ahead, go make your money, go do your things. But if God is not in it and around it and through it, it is for naught. It is for nothing. It is for you to stand on the top of a cliff and say, what? I don't know. Here is what I want to do with Purpose by Design is I want to help women to truly discover what that is. What is it that he has designed you to be and to do? What is it? Right? Because we are jars of clay and we are uh, really in need of an all surpassing power of God, right? And so it reminds me of that. It reminds me of how are we going to have the divine discovery, an identity and a purpose aside from God? To me, that doesn't make sense anymore. I don't go there because I don't want to be without him. It is what strengthens my marriage, my family, my relationship with my children, with friends, all of that, right? Is having that connection with God first so that the connections with others are deepened, right? And then I really want to go through strategic like clarity and alignment with these amazing women of God and have this visionary blueprint of where we can do what it is God has called us to do. So in our visionary blueprint, we're going to gain strategic clarity. And even though tough moments may come, because they will, right? You might feel perplexed. You might feel unsure. You might not be clear of what it is, but let's get clear, right? God uses confusion as a catalyst for alignment because lots of times we are sitting there in a stupid little bubble, acting like our world is just this bubble and we're not supposed to go outside of it. And we are sitting with smoke screens and thinking like this is important. And the truth is I believe that God has to steer and to stir us up in confusion as a catalyst for us to align ourselves with what it is He wants us to do. Now, I don't know if you ever noticed that, but I've noticed that in hard times, in uncertain times, I pray harder. I dig deeper. I try to listen more. I mean, I don't know what He's doing sometimes, but He knows what He's doing. And so I need to connect, right? And sometimes we have this, I don't know, this facade that we got our crap together when we absolutely do not got our crap together, right? And so I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I have. I know for me, I'm a hard-headed individual. And so I need the Lord. I need God in those times where I don't know what's going on, where I am uncertain, where I am pulling back, where I don't have an answer. And those things get really tough. And I know that I don't want to live another moment without Him. I know that for sure. I know that for sure. So when those moments come where you are feeling pressed down, you're feeling broken, these are the times to not give up, but to press in, to pray harder, to dig deeper, to listen more closely. He knows exactly what it is He is doing, and He knows exactly what it is you need, even though you think you may know what you need. When I was impoverished, I can barely see the light of, will I ever make 50,000 a year? Will I ever make 60,000 a year? Will I ever hit six figures? And I remember the moment when I hit six figures, I was like, oh, okay. Like there was no, I thought I was going to be excited. I was talking to my husband about that. Like I thought I would be so excited. Yeah, no, that didn't happen because unless I start to really start to have a visionary blueprint where God is first, all means nothing. Yes, of course, we all need finances and money and all that stuff to pay the bills and all that. Of course, but not if it goes before God. And you need to get it together. If you have been putting other things before God, I need to get it together, right? Because that is important to put God first. Everything else will be added onto it. And so we're going to go through that in the Purpose by Design integration and blueprint and all that, because I want to make sure that we first start with our divine discovery. What does that mean? What is the identity? What is the purpose? Then we're going to talk about that vision, right? What is that visionary blueprint? How do we, clarify things, get into alignment with what it is God wants us to do? And then we're going to talk about impactful messaging and authenticity if you want that for your business, right? If there is a message that God is trying to have you do, is your business more than a business? Is it more than a product or a widget or a service? Maybe it's I don't know, a ministry, right? Then we have to get that together. What does that mean? You might face persecution and criticism for doing that thing, for doing the right thing, because too many people are getting clicks and viral for doing evil things and doing things that are not aligned with God, right? Your authentic message matters. It matters most when it's hard, when you have to speak the truth. Your pain becomes a megaphone for others, for people who really need to hear it. His goodness, your trials, this is what becomes the testimony and your voice to really truly reach others, right? It starts to refine you in the fire. It's not comfort and it's not comfortable, right? I often think about, when my relationships, especially the one with my husband, because that's the one is like 27 years and all that great stuff. And even with my kids, when we have gone through some tough times, we have gone through some tough times. And you can, if you ever read my book, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. But it's through those moments of fire that we have been refined. It is through those moments of fire that we're not comfortable and that you want to just like throw in the towel and walk away. It is in those moments that you will find God's goodness, right? Because then his trials become a powerful testimony for somebody else. And then somebody else comes to me and says, "Oh my God, Neena, I needed that because." And then you realize, oh, okay, that's what God was doing. I got it. I got it. Right? Because I know that we are fed a lot of things out there, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a leader. You're fed a lot of crap out there about how you're supposed to do this and get that. And this is how many months and this many times a month. And now it's all coming out that all of these freaking people that were over here being gurus and giving you all the bullshit are all actually not giving you the truth. And then you're sitting out here like, wow. Okay, I'm burnt out. I'm broke. I'm tired. I've put a lot of effort into this and nothing's come out of it. But let me tell you what's come out of it is you getting a realization that God needs to come first. And if that means that you have to go through these trials for him to be refined in your life, then that's what needs to happen because he needs to come first. And I remember, I was talking to my husband about this, a long time ago. I went through like kingdom and spiritual leadership for women, and that was amazing. And I did that for a while. And then I became a chef, and then I did that for a while, and I freaking love that so much. I think that's something that's been built in me since I was like born, right? And then I got into personal development and leadership and neurolinguistic programming and all of these amazing things and I realized I was talking to hubby about how lately I have been feeling like all of that is culminating into something amazing and bigger than I ever thought or could have imagined. And I'm working now with a nonprofit organization where I'm helping challenged adults or underprivileged adults, however you want to word it, to actually get culinary skills to go out into the world and to find jobs and stuff like that in culinary. And what I've noticed is this, that even though the table of all of my students is eclectic, I have trans people, I have people who are not of faith. I have people who are homeless. I have all kinds of people sitting at this table. We are breaking bread together, and God is using that for his kingdom and his goodness in such a way that I never thought possible. And so now am I not only teaching these people culinary, because that's what I do. I'm a culinary instructor, but not only am I doing that, I'm also being the coach because I also have my master's in neurolinguistic programming and in life coaching and all in positive intelligence. It has been the most transformative couple of weeks that I've had in a very long time. And I realized that God takes you through all of these seasons of your life with all of the skill sets and all of the things that you're supposed to do in the world. And then he culminates that so that you can impact the world in a different way. And this has been such a beautiful experience for me because it's opened my eyes to all of these different ways of life and different challenges and different mindsets and all of this stuff. And it's given me empathy in a way that I didn't know I had the capacity for. It is beautiful. So take all of the things that God has given you and understand that in the trials, you will find his goodness if you are looking. Right? You have been an impactful person for somebody somewhere. So now let's be a messenger mover. Somebody who actually takes all that you have been through and starts to create a movement with your message, with the truth of who you are. His goodness, your trials become testimonies for others. All right? Then I want to take these women and all the stuff that we are going to be doing, and I want to do a faith-driven execution and practical actions and things that we can do to really start impacting the kingdom, right? The kingdom scale is what I'm calling it. It's the steps that's going to remind us of how we execute, of how we stand up, of that. Maybe it's not always glamorous. Maybe we're not always going through amazing things. Maybe everything is not all good and and wonderful happening, right? But sometimes you get stuck in the stuckness. I don't know how to explain that. Sometimes you're going to get stuck down. You're going to get laid down. You're going to be feeling pressed, right? Spiritual warfare gets real, y'all. Okay. But guess what? These battles confirm that you are doing something right. When you are working for the kingdom, When you are working for God and you are trying to put things together and you're just like, what is happening right now? And why is all this coming against me? And why do I feel lost? And why do I feel shame? Or what do I feel? Whatever, all of those, things that do come up in your role as a leader or an entrepreneur, all of those things, these battles, I feel confirm that you are doing something right because the enemy is ticked. When everything's going easy, I feel like, oh, I might be moving along with the enemy and not against the current. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you weren't a threat, you wouldn't face opposition. I really believe that. Now, is it to say that God sometimes won't open doors for you? Of course he does. Of course he does. But he will do it while he's refining you, while he's making you the tool that he needs for that next place that you're going to. All right. So keep it moving. Have that faith driven execution, right? Step forward even when it's freaking hard, because it is hard, right? And like I just told you, like me and my husband were like on the same page finally. Okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to get our stuff together. And then we get hit with a bill, right? And it's just like, okay, unexpected. What do we do now? Shift, move. God is teaching us something. What is he teaching us? Be good stewards over the small things I give you before I can give you the big things, right? Because I have been so frivolous and wasted so much money and wasted so many things, chasing things I shouldn't be chasing because I didn't take the time to stop and pause and ask God what it is he has wanted me to do. So keep moving. Faith-driven execution means that you're going to start stepping forward even when the hits the fan. Okay? All right. Now, when you start to come into purpose by design, we're going to talk about all of these things. And we're going to also talk about long-term legacy and transformation. This is sustained success. Okay. Sustained success means acknowledgement that pain and loss, even facing the reality of our own death or the death of others, isn't something we can just avoid. We hold tight to the eternal perspective. That's who we are as Christians. All right. I remember when my pastor was talking about that, I was like, yes, and yes. Our struggles are temporary, y'all. Okay. But our transformation into the forever, into with God, into like being absent from the world is being present with the Lord. We have got to focus in on that and what it is that really matters in this world and who is it that we need to touch in this world, because God doesn't protect us from struggles. Okay. He protects us through the struggles. He doesn't protect us from it. And all the lies out there about, everything is going to be amazing and great and wonderful and lovely and all that type of stuff. You know what that does? It sets you up to fail, because what happens is when stuff does come up, then you start to question God as opposed to saying, okay, God is refining me. We start to get into this prosperity crap where we think that, oh, that's, obviously, God isn't with me or I'm doing something wrong or whatever. And no, it could be just God is helping you through the struggle and helping you to actually realize what it is that you need to do to refine who you are. And that, I believe, protects us through the fire. When we really start to get it together and stop questioning God and stop thinking that he's just this genie in a bottle that you're going to rub and he's just going to come out and give you all of your wishes. That's not how this works. And it's not even biblical. Okay. So I just want you to understand that, therefore, we do not lose heart. Through outwardly, we are wasting away, but inwardly, we are renewed day by day. That's 2 Corinthians 4:16. And this really touched me when we were doing Corinthians at church. I was like, you know what? I really need to dig into Corinthians a bit more, because man, oh man, do I need that. Okay. So here's what you do right now to fully live in that purpose when it's tough. First, don't give up. If God's not quitting on you, you don't quit on him either. Stick to who you are. Stick to your purpose. You are designed for it. Okay. Stick to that journey. Your struggles today become tomorrow's strengths for you and for someone else, because everything we go through is not just for you. We go through the things we go through for our fellow man, for other people. Okay. So stay focused, y'all. Stay focused on the eternal. Keep your eyes on long-term vision. Daily distractions, yes, they're going to come super real. I know I have ADHD, so I get distracted a lot, but daily distractions, even though they're very real, your eternal calling is greater. So, whatever it is that God has been calling you to do, it is time to step into that. It is time to step into what it is you are trying to create in the world that you feel deeply God has called you to do. Like purpose by design was something that really was through just a lot of prayer, crying, not knowing what I am, who I am, why I am, right? And I have to tell you, I'd love to help you get clearer on your purpose if that's something you want, right? Your message and how to walk this out. What does this freaking mean anyway, right? If you haven't yet, I do have a quiz. I'm actually finishing it up tonight, so it should be live, but it's going to be a quiz for you to really get into your design archetype. Who are you? Why are you? You know, what's your strengths? What could be some blind spots that you have, right? So I'm going to drop that link and make sure that you guys get it, because I'm going to work on that tonight to make sure it is done for you. All right. But I want to make sure that you understand that no matter what it is you're going through, okay, you're fragile for a reason. You're that clay pot for a reason, because of the real strength and the real true purpose and the real true eternal value that you have, that is meant to shine through your weakness. And you're going to have to let God work deeply and powerfully through you, with you, because he is there to help you, refine you, so that you can really do whatever it is he has called you to do in this world. And I want to make sure that if I can be even a small part of that, that I do that part, because I believe that is my part. That is my part. You know, I was talking to one of the students at where I am, and oh my God, this person is so beautiful. This person is so beautiful, right? And he was telling me that he goes, you know, you're very different than other Christians that I've met. He happens to be a trans man. He's like, you're very different than other Christians. And I'm like, oh, how so? He's like, well, you haven't judged me. You make me feel safe. I really love talking to you, all of that. He goes, have you ever thought that, you know, your calling, he said, is to really inspire and help others reach their greatness? I thought that was beautiful. And yes, I know that that is a gift, because God has revealed that to me a long time ago, that it is my job to really help others reach their greatness. I really truly believe that. And to hear it though from someone who doesn't know me that well, has only known me a few weeks and already feels that way, is powerful. So allow God to really help you to be broken in that clay pot, to actually be molded by the Lord. Okay? Be there, stay brave, stay bold, stay deeply rooted in purpose, for a purpose by design. Okay. So I love you all. Stay brave. I'm going to go make some dinner, but I wanted to come on here to make sure that you understood that I deeply care about you and where you're going and where you feel like God is taking you. And I deeply want to be a part of that with you. And if you feel like this resonated with you even a little bit, then reach out to me, because I'd love to talk to you about this further. I'm going to make sure to link my connection with Neena calendar in the show notes. And I'm also going to put the quiz in there as soon as I am done, so you guys can take the quiz. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, all of that. Please go ahead. I try to read all of my comments, so go ahead and comment. But I really adore you guys very much. And I will see you, I guess, on the next one. Stay in purpose, for a purpose by design. All right, guys, until next time.